Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Armchair Booking Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host. My name is Super Steve Barber. I had to go with that this time, Dwayne. And joining me, as always, my awesome co-host, the intellectual rock star himself, delicious Dwaylen Davis.
Hey, everybody.
And for those of y'all watching on YouTube going, okay, who's that down at the bottom? Well, that we have been talking about having him on the show now ever since we started the series on why we are fans. And we always said, this man is going to be next as soon as we can get our schedules straight,
Yeah,
which has
yeah.
been
It
a
was never
challenge.
it was never you. It was life just got crazy and we just
Yeah.
couldn't get our stuff together. So
And as soon as we could actually guarantee we could be
yeah.
recording, you know, we said, okay, we're going to have Bear, Herman Cade, also known as Bear, which I want to give a nod to the Nate Land podcast. Hey, Bear. I don't know if you know what the Nate Land podcast is, but
Yes, sir.
yeah, so you know what a Hey Bear is then.
Yes, I do.
So, which makes sense because you're out of Knoxville, Tennessee, but you are part of the Wrestling Society podcast.
Yes, sir. Wrestling Society Network, actually.
That's true.
And yeah, we are just like we always say, we're just wrestling fans that get a blessing to be able to talk about it.
Oh,
Yeah.
sounds like us. And as we were discussing
Yeah.
before the show, we're discussing whole lot of nerdy stuff. We almost really lost track of time. You know, like, well, we got to record at some point. But we discovered that Bear is a lot like me and Dwaylen because all about video games and all about comic books. You know, they just nerd it. And if you say you're a big music fan, that'll just
Yeah.
Oh, I won't even tell y'all how many songs I have on my computer.
see, you know, and plus we're also talking about all the medication we have to take because apparently we're all old now. So,
Yeah, apparently. That's what my wife and kids tell me anyway. I'll be 50 this year, so
yep. And I'm right behind Dwaylen.
And
Yep.
same here, 50 July
Oh,
Same. July what?
10th.
Mine's the 16th.
look at that. See, oh, but before we really get started on the topic, one of the things our good friend Ted the Hillbilly Hill kind of pointed out is a lot of people don't make it to the end of an episode. And so we want to go ahead and let people know how they can find the Wrestling Society Network podcast, everything associated with it. So your contact, listing info, how can they find you, social media, everything. Just give it to us.
Woo! Well, you can find us on Facebook at the Wrestling Society Network. That's on Facebook. We have a YouTube channel, and it's also the Wrestling Society Network. We have Instagram. We have oh goodness. And y'all got to give me a break because I'm a little old, so the mind runs a little slower sometimes. Instagram. We have oh goodness, I can't even think. We have all different social medias. Let me put it like that. I have a personal page on Facebook, a Bear of a Wrestling Fan. I give my opinions, find out different things. So, hey, please join, and I appreciate everyone.
And one of the things I think is actually kind of cool is Dwaylen actually met your coworkers, your co-hosts, you know, from Wrestling Society at SummerSlam
Yep.
last summer, which occasionally Dwaylen likes to remind all of us that he was able to go to SummerSlam, you know. But like I
Yeah.
said,
Yeah.
I can't get mad at him. I'd be doing the same thing.
Yeah. It was like that was my first. I've been to some WWE house shows, took my son to a few, but I never the entire time I've been a wrestling fan, I've never gone to any kind of like pay-per-view. And
Oh
to be
wow!
able to go to SummerSlam, and like my wife went with me, so that was even better. And we had a ball. And she said she was just watching me, and I was in my element. And I'm like, well, surrounded by 40,000 wrestling fans, so
And you know, so then it was like what a month or so later, I was getting messages through the armchair booking, I'm
Yeah.
like, I wasn't at
Yeah.
SummerSlam. You're talking about Dwaylen. Then I was like, hey, dude, did you meet some people? He's like, yeah, they're like from Georgia.
Yeah.
And,
Yep.
and so here we are, a year later, and we are talking with the Bear. Or just Bear or the Bear, does it matter?
Bear. Yeah, it's Bear because my daughter gave me that nickname. So I've been very blessed that she's letting me share it with the world because she does not play about her bear.
Yeah.
Oh, there you
My
go.
my
As,
almost 5-year-old calls me Gaga, and she's the only one allowed to do that. Anybody else does, and she's looking at him like, "Huh? What are you doing?"
exactly.
Is she giving everybody the side eye?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Matter of fact, this picture behind me, she drew this
Oh, okay.
Okay.
as half. It was for my music company that I was trying to work on, but she drew that. She's a very talented artist, and so
Yeah, that is pretty nice looking. I can see that from
Mm-hmm.
here. So, Bear, tell us your personal history of being a wrestling fan. I mean, what did you first start watching, and what really just drug you into it?
so what got me into wrestling was my father. My dad was the biggest wrestling fan that I knew, and he took it was a family thing. Based, we lived in Knoxville all my life, so I was used to the the local wrestling here. At times, we've had the Nature Boy, Ric Flair, and Ronnie Garvin. Oh goodness, the Ron and Don Wright, the Fullers, Bullet Bob Armstrong, and all the Armstrong kids. Um, so it was just a rite of passage for me, and every Saturday it never failed. 6:05. I don't care what you were doing. I don't care how loud you were being. You knew to shut up and
Yep.
either sit down or get out the house.
Or yep,
One of the
yep.
two.
6:05 on the Superstation
Oh
every
yeah.
Saturday.
And man, and then getting to meet wrestlers. It's I've been blessed to meet so many different wrestlers and have conversation with them. I have story I got stories about the Junkyard Dog, uh Jim Cornette, Terry Funk, and just and my brother, he's 10 years older than me. Most people can't tell us apart because we look like twins.
Okay.
And he worked in Atlanta. I have a brother. I had two brothers and a sister that lived in Atlanta, and he worked at a rental car place. He got to hang out with him. At one point was going to be a wrestler, so I've just been blessed to just be a fan and just been going all my life.
Oh,
Awesome.
yeah. So, who were some of your favorites?
Oh, well, one of my favorite right now, one of my favorites is Samoa Joe.
All right.
Yes. Yes.
Samoa Joe is the quintessential throwback to the 80s wrestler for me. He can talk, he can work, his intimidation, whether face or heel, he can play the role. And just he's a psychic. I mean, he knows how to work the crowd and put the work in mentally to be wrestling. There's wrestling, then there's wrestling.
Yeah. Yep.
And for me, that's the modern for me. And of course, FTR, they're the modern day Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard.
Yes, sir.
Uh,
Yes.
uh,
Yes.
I I like Roman Reigns very and it's funny that I'm about to say this. Roman Reigns is very underrated for what he's done for the business and what he's continually do for the business.
I agree. Because
Okay.
this heel run has been, it's like he turned heel and the switch went off and it was just off to the races. And yeah, he literally put that company on his back and went to
Exactly.
work.
And a lot of people don't realize. And the funny thing, my nephew's a big wrestling fan, and we were talking last night, and I said they don't give enough credit for champions. If you want to be a great champion, you need great opponents.
Mm-hmm.
I said that is the only mark against Roman, that his opponents hadn't been big, but it's not his fault or the opponent's fault. It's the WWE and the way they book people. It's their fault.
Absolutely. Yep. Because they don't build anybody up to look like a threat to Roman.
Exactly.
Everybody walking into every time there's a pay-per-view or a TV match, it's always like, well, Roman's going to win. You even see it on TikTok. People are like making parodies of it now. It's like Roman Reigns beats Godzilla, and it's like 1, 2, 3. His music goes off, and the person's like, "Okay, I acknowledge him." It's like
exactly,
and it's nothing against him, but like you said, they're not building people up to look like a credible threat. So going into the match, it's pretty much a foregone conclusion. Roman's winning.
Exactly, and then when you have the opportunity to build a great story from it, they take the easy way out, or they think, okay, we can go for the long game, but you have so much in between. How are you going to keep people's interest with it if you don't build people to be credible threats? I mean, like Cesaro, his match with Cesaro was great, but if you really thought Cesaro was gonna beat him, I mean, really, and then it's like I look at a lot of the contenders and stuff that are there, and it's like you have people in your mid card that could be great. They just won't build them up. They're just so concerned about the top, and okay, when we need to make some money, we'll bring in one of the old guys.
Yeah. I mean, and I know you've listened to the show, and me and Steve have both said this time and time again. You build a professional wrestler from the ground up. His name is Bobby Lashley. You have Bobby Lashley on your roster, who would be a perfect opponent for Roman Reigns, and they won't pull the trigger on it.
Well,
because Bobby Lashley looks like a credible threat. You know, everything about Bobby Lashley screams world champion. That is a credible threat to Roman Reigns, but they won't book it that way because they know everybody's going to look and be like, "Oh, Bobby's winning this."
Well, and what I was going to say, well, just look at the Drew McIntyre situation. Drew was a credible threat. Yes,
there's the shirt. Yep,
exactly what they did, and it's definitely their fault. Okay, not letting them win was one thing. I didn't necessarily have the problem with that. Oh yes, nice.
My wife got me that for Christmas.
I didn't have a problem with it, but you got to still keep him credible. You got to have him with opponents that make sense to make you say, "Hey, I want to come back to the Roman and him." And what they did, they dropped the ball. Karrion Kross. Oh my God, Karrion Kross should be a monster, and they've just
should be
and they've just played with him.
Because I've watched him from the independents to Impact Wrestling when he was Killer Kross, and he was a monster. And when he's even in NXT, Triple H had him booked like a monster. He was a killer. He gets on the main roster and he's just another guy. And it's like, did y'all not watch where he, what he was doing you signed him, so somebody had to have seen it. So it's like, just book him how he was booked before, and let him be a monster.
Well, that's the problem. The problem is WWE will not let anybody self-create and get a run without pretty much bowing down. I can only think of, right off the top of my head, one of the few people that actually came in, got the world title, and was, as his name is, phenomenal. That's AJ Styles.
Yeah.
How in the world do you have Samoa Joe?
Yes.
You got Samoa Joe. You got Shinsuke.
Yeah.
Shinsuke. And you're making them look like jokes.
Yeah. So Shinsuke should have beat AJ at WrestleMania that year that they had that match. Joe should have been WWE champion more than once. I mean,
he should have dominated Brock.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because
absolutely.
he did, because even in that promo and that match that they had at Great Balls of Fire, Brock didn't beat Joe. He survived. He escaped. He got lucky with that one F5 and was able to put Joe down. But Joe dominated that match, and the match wasn't very long, but Joe dominated the whole match.
And here's my thing. Okay, even don't let Joe win. I would have been okay with it. But you gonna let him take one F5?
Yeah. One. Yeah. One.
Yeah. How many? Rollins took like 17 of them and still won. Come on.
Yeah. It took Lesnar 3 F5s and 16 Germans to beat John Cena. But you beat Joe with one F5. That's Vince McMahon booking, because Vince McMahon was never a fan of Samoa Joe because of his look. And it's like, who cares? The guy has a presence. The guy walks into an arena, and you believe, when the fans start chanting Joe's going to kill you, you believe he's going to go in there and kill somebody.
And so eloquent. How many people can sit there and have an elegant, intelligent conversation with you and make you crap your drawers? I mean, it's like, wow, really? And another reason why, and I put him up there with Arn Anderson.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
He was my favorite horseman.
Mine too.
Because no matter what you say, no matter what you do, you go after Flair. Didn't care who else was in the group. The first person that came up to you and told you, if you want anybody in this group, you got to come through me.
Yep.
He was the ultimate team player.
Yeah. Dusty Rhodes said one time, he's like, you watch Horseman promos, and you got Flair talking about Space Mountain and Tully talking about his money and his cars and all this. He's like, and then Arn Anderson just brings everything back around and is like, I'm going to beat you up. He's like, and you believed he was going to beat you up. Dusty said Arn Anderson was the toughest man he'd ever been in the ring with.
Really?
And this is Dusty saying that Dusty's been in the ring with Harley Race. And he said Arn Anderson was the toughest man. He said because Arn had the psychology, the physicality, and the technique. He's like, and how do you combat that? He's like, I'm a 300-pound son of a plumber. He's like, how do you combat all that? He's like, I still say Arn Anderson is the greatest professional wrestler to never be a world champion.
And definitely the top 3 on that. You know, because, I mean, you got some other arguments, but
you got him and Scott Hall are my 1 and 2 of best wrestlers to never be a world champion.
And the funny thing for me too is talking modern wrestling with people, and then I go down the road of, well, you don't know. I'm like, that's fine. We can debate, but the one thing I always tell you is do your research. Because a lot of stuff you don't know what you're talking about. Like I always heard, well, Kurt Hennig never won the world title. Yes, he has.
Yes,
You just didn't know
The
It
AWA
was
world title.
exactly.
Yep.
And a lot of people history always loved WWE because they are so quick to alter history.
Oh yeah, they
To
are the masters of revisionist history. I mean, their own history. Steve and I were talking about this last week, I think, talking about the women's tag team championships. Like when they created those, they're like Bailey and Sasha are the first, and me and Steve were both like, no,
No,
no, they
no,
were
you got to go
not.
back a ways, but no, they were
Yeah,
not
but
the first.
well, they're spin doctors because
yeah,
what they do, they say certain phrases so they can
yeah,
be right, even though they're wrong.
yeah, yeah.
And I've
Agree.
noticed that, and I catch it all the time, and I laugh to myself. It's like, yeah, no, whatever. You just a moment because you're trying to keep telling the ordinary fans who don't know any different. Now,
Yep.
when you meet us old school wrestling
Yes.
fans, you better
Yes.
bring some history. That's the
Exactly.
reason why I love Triple H, because no matter what, he always goes back and brings history
Oh
back,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
and I love him for that.
Yeah.
Oh,
He's got
he's a
a
student of the game. I mean,
yeah, and he has so much respect for the people that paved the way.
Yes,
And it's like, and that's the thing that Vince McMahon tries to get away from is like the history. And it's like, if it wasn't for these guys over here paving the way, you wouldn't be the billionaire that you are now because they built this road for these current stars to make you their money. And
exactly.
it's like, why would you want to erase any part of wrestling history when there's so much out there that these young, like you said, these young fans don't know, and especially the ones that only watch WWE, so they're sucked into that bubble of this is the only game in town when it's really they think they're the world and they're actually Pluto in the grand scheme of things. In the
Yes.
grand scheme of pro wrestling, WWE is Pluto because every other wrestling company around them is willing to work together to make the product better.
yep, including the big ones like AEW. Of course, AEW and our Ring of Honor, they're pretty much one and the same almost now.
Yeah.
AEW
Right.
slightly above it, but then you also have Impact, and then now you have the. If you want to go down to like the next tier, if you want to call it that, like you
Mm-hmm.
have Combat Zone, you have Gorilla Pro, you have
Mm-hmm. Yep.
and where would you rank the Japanese companies? Because they're all they're in different countries. So I would actually put them almost the same level as like AEW.
Oh
Oh,
They
yeah.
just have,
definitely.
yeah, they
Definitely.
can't directly compete.
Especially with Forbidden Door, and then you've got people that are leaving New Japan, like Jay White. He finished up with New Japan, signed with AEW, so he's still going to get that because AEW wrestlers are allowed to wrestle other places.
Yep.
So unlike WWE wrestlers who have to wrestle just other WWE competitors 300 days a year, they don't get that. It's like going to school for it's like having a well-rounded education in college. Wrestling is the same thing. It's like if you're only wrestling against people in your same company, you're not really learning any more than you already know. But if all these other people are learning strong style and they're learning just all these different technical styles against all these different opponents, and they get to incorporate that into their skill set. WWE
Exactly.
wrestlers don't get to do that. They have to either rely on the skill, say an AJ Styles. He has an amazing skill set. So he walked in already above most of them. But that's few and far between.
But
Most of them are built in WWE and they have to wrestle the WWE style.
the
It,
thing is though, now, well, and you can even see it with NXT with Triple H. Triple H understands, and that's
mm-hmm.
why he brings so many different groups in, and he wants to work, and he wants to have the different training um NXT places around the world, so you can
Mm-hmm.
learn different styles.
Yep.
And you can build it to the WWE style, but also blend it in together.
Mm-hmm.
And just truly, and I don't mean to be morbid or like this, but until Vince McMahon dies, the WWE will always be stale.
Yeah.
Because every time Triple H comes up with something, Vince is, no, well, let me tell you something, buddy. I built wrestling and we do it like this. And you got to be flexible.
Yeah,
And
CM Punk said it. He said the company be better off when Vince McMahon's gone.
Yep.
And we were there.
That was proven. It was proven when he was forced to step away because he was not a good person. We're trying to keep it family friendly, but we'll just say Vince was not. He was doing
not a good person
things.
at all. Yeah,
and still not.
And instantly the product went from this and just was steadily going up every single week. Raw was actually watchable for me for the first time in, I don't know, 5 years probably. Yeah. And then Vince comes back, sells the company, immediately gets put back in charge, and the product dips again. So how do people not see the problem is the creepy dude with the mustache?
That's the mustache does not help matters. And on the Finish Your Wrestling podcast, they just had they just had Mr. Magnificent from Dad World Order. Yep, they just had him on their show. They got to talk about the mustache, and I almost fell out of my chair laughing at work when they were talking about it because he said one of the guys for Finish Your Wrestling, remember which one it said. He actually remarked. He said he looks like he's tying a damsel in distress onto the railroad tracks.
Yes, he
does. Like Snidely Whiplash.
Any minute, I'm waiting for him to do this. And whoever told him that at 77 years old, oh, go ahead and dye your hair jet black and your creepy little mustache jet black, even though people have seen for 20 years what your real hair looks like.
Mm-hmm.
He shows up and he looks like a vaudevillain.
He shows up looking like Fredo.
He does. I'm waiting for him to go, I'm smart.
I can
do things. Not dumb like people think. I'm waiting for him to do it. Yeah.
And he's gonna start developing going, see, this is what we're gonna do. See?
And I think that's what he does in booking meetings.
He might.
It's like it twirls the mustache. He lets everybody else do the work, and it's like, no, here's what we're gonna do. And it's like, then why have a writing staff? Won't you just do it yourself?
Which most of the writing staff don't need to be in there anyway. How are you going to have a writing staff that don't know wrestling?
Because
they're not even wrestling fans.
No, because they hired TV writers to book a wrestling show, and it's like, it's simple. Get former wrestlers, get retired wrestlers to write a wrestling show. It's not hard.
Well, it is, because when you're a control freak, you can't have somebody that has the ability to tell you you're wrong.
That's true. Yeah, so, he does like the yes men.
Yeah. So I mean, I get the concept of WWE, and that's fine. I like, it was entertaining this weekend, so I could laugh and point out everything that was wrong. So it gives me a chuckle. And then every now and then they have, and don't get me wrong, they still put on good matches and they have quality, but just some of the things, like my biggest pet peeve is women's wrestling. If y'all would put half, I'm not even saying put whole, just a half of the interest into writing storylines for them, you would notice your women's wrestling would go up. But no.
It's like Steve and I talked about Bayley. Bayley came back from injury. She came back as a heel. They had a ready-made faction. All they had to do Let's put the world title on Bailey and the tag titles on Io and Dakota.
Boom,
They
done.
did half
Yeah.
of it, but then they had Bailey lose 3 world title matches in a row, and then they had everybody beating Damage Control, and it just destroyed. They're looked at as jobbers now, and it's
Well,
like you took 3 of the most talented women in the world and just pushed them on out there to die.
well, here's the thing too, and this is what WWE has been doing for years. Wins and losses don't matter.
Yeah,
We're dumb. We will believe anything that they put together and the way they put it. Just how many times has the Big Show flipped from heel to face?
I'm gonna
Mm.
guess 472.
Right on it.
That's
Right
about
on it.
right. Yeah.
Right on
Yeah,
it.
and the thing is, for no reason. There's no story.
Exactly.
Half the time, there's no storyline. Half the time, he would turn in mid match
Yeah.
and just punch his opponent in the face and walk out, and it's like, huh?
Well, but the week before, you see him gets beat by a roll up,
Yeah,
by a jobber.
Yeah.
yeah,
and then next week, the number one contender is Big Show, and you're like,
yeah,
yeah, what?
yeah. That's like he can get Randy Orton dropped him with an RKO, and then the next week, Randy beat him with the RKO to win the vacant title. And then like the next week, yeah, Big Show was named number one contender, and it's like you do realize he just lost, like convincingly lost this match over here.
They they put, like they said, they're entertainment business,
Oh yeah,
and
they're an entertainment
Yes.
company
Well,
who
Vince said it.
just yeah,
Yeah.
and
He said,
that's fine if that's what you want to be, but even with the entertainment, don't insult my intelligence.
yes, and that's the thing. WWE has a very bad habit of insulting the intelligence of the very people that are making them money,
and
and it's like
it's not a recent thing either.
it's not a recent thing. It's
No,
been
not by a long
Years,
shot.
years.
and
The
here's the thing, and
the aftermags used to even say that
yeah,
back in the
yeah,
mid '80s.
and people have mythologized the Attitude Era. The Attitude Era was not that good.
Mm,
It was fun during the time that it happened, but going back as an almost 50-year-old man, there is not a lot that's watchable for me in the Attitude Era. I mean, the Austin
it
stuff,
was frat boy wrestling.
exactly. The Austin stuff, the Rock stuff, the tag team stuff. It's really about it. I mean, the Foley stuff. Other than that, it was like you said, it was just sophomore humor. Like the DX stuff does
and
not hold up well. It's
Mm.
like
I was never a
and
fan of DX.
and most
I
people get mad at me when I say this. I was more of an Austin fan in WCW than I was in WWF.
I loved Stone Cold, but that's when I first liked Steve Austin, was stunning Steve Austin in
Hmm.
WCW.
He was a
Actually,
wrestler.
Yes.
actually, it was in Texas
Exactly.
when I saw stuff when he was in the Sportatorium in Dallas. You could see it then, and then when he gets to WCW and wins the TV title, it's like, yeah, this guy's going to be good. He should have been world champion, but Dusty and Flair kind of got in the way.
A little
No,
bit, yeah.
well,
Because
well,
Well,
because
Bischoff also.
that's what I was gonna
well,
say.
Steve was well. The thing is, remember when the United States champion was the number one contender for the title?
Yep.
Yes.
So did Steve Austin. So he went to Dusty Rhodes and was like, I'm the U.S. champion. When am I going to get my shot at the title? And Dusty was like, well, that spot's not for you. That's for somebody else. And every time he went to him about moving up the ladder, it was always, that spot's for this person. That spot's for you. You stay. You're doing good right where you are. And he saw the ceiling, and he was like, I can't do anything else. And I mean, the best thing that ever happened to him was getting fired while he was out hurt, because then he
And
was able to go and become the biggest star in the business and make Eric Bischoff look like a complete moron.
and then he was talented enough to make whatever they threw at him, he made it work. That's why him and Pillman tag team was so memorable.
Oh, the Hollywood Blondes were great, and they were
This-
never supposed to get over.
exactly.
They were supposed to be a placeholder team just to, get people ready to be world tag team champions. Then they got booked to win them, and they were over. And then that's why they ended up splitting them, is because they got over on their own, and they were never supposed to get over.
And that's a funny thing that I noticed in history, that most of your most popular stars actually got over themselves without the booker, and the booker killed it because they couldn't control them.
Yep.
They didn't want to give them the money.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I look at a lot of people that got over who were in my favorite era were the territories, because you could go different places, do different things.
Yep.
And you could build yourself into a star.
Yeah.
And to me, now what we are in now is a renaissance of the territory, because you see a lot of independent places that are hot.
Yeah.
That you see a lot. I never thought I would enjoy. Here the last 3-4 months, I've been going to a lot of independent wrestling shows, and I think I get more entertainment out of them than I do the bigger shows.
Well, yeah, because like to me, the independent wrestling scene is like college basketball. College basketball players aren't getting paid at all. Independent wrestlers are not getting paid a lot, but they're going out there to show what they're capable of doing without any restraints. I'm going to show you how good I am. Then they get to the pros, don't have to put as much work in because the money's guaranteed. So the independence is where it's at, because these men and women are hungry, and
Exactly.
they want to show you what you're missing out on by not paying attention to the indies. And like, people crap on the indie scene, and it's like, you do realize that every wrestler in a major wrestling company today started out in the indies,
with very, very few exceptions. The only one,
exactly.
there's some who started at the Power or NXT,
Yeah,
Charlotte Flair, but then again, her dad's Ric Flair, so of course
you got Charlotte Flair, Roman Reigns, Bianca Belair. All three of them started in NXT. They started at the Performance
all
Center.
three collegiate level athletes.
Exactly.
And that's the reason why they're doing the NIT for WWE now, because they've seen it work. They want to continue trying to tap that talent.
Yeah. But they're also pushing too hard, though, because they've got, I think, 4 people in NXT right now with serious injuries.
Yeah.
Nikita Lyons is out with a knee injury. Somebody else just tore their ACL.
And I don't mean to upset any of your fans, but she is so freaking overrated.
Here's the thing: her look has gotten her
exactly, and
her skills have not caught up with her looks yet.
Yes, exactly.
I'm not saying. I think she can get there because she does have an athletic background. I think she can get there. I think they just did too much too soon. I think they saw her look is going to get her noticed, so we're going to push her out there real quick. And it's like, but yeah, you did it too soon, and now she's injured, and she's going to have to learn some more stuff because her looks are only going to carry her so far. You see what happened with Sable.
Yeah,
her looks carried her for a while, and then they thought, oh, we got to get her in the ring, and then it all fell apart.
Well, and that attitude of hers too.
Yeah, it was awful.
Again, I'd never like to sound like I'm dogging any wrestler, because it's very hard, and I recognize that you have to train, put in work to do it. But some, And I guess the ego is going to be anywhere, any job, any sport. And I get that. But sometimes some people just need to really take a minute and sit down and get their mind together. Just like CM Punk to me. CM Punk, he has a wealth of knowledge, but he thinks the world rotates around him.
Yep.
And
And
it's
and
like,
I'm a CM Punk fan, but I've always thought the same thing. He thought Ring of Honor was supposed to revolve around him. He thought the ECW brand was supposed to revolve around him. He thought WWE as a whole was supposed to revolve around him. And he had some points about certain things, like the Miz main eventing of WrestleMania, but he never got to. I would be mad too because the Miz had no business being champion at that time. If it's current Miz, I could see current Miz main eventing because he's gotten that good as a heel. But I see CM Punk's point on that. But a lot of stuff, it's just like, dude, you're not bigger than the business.
exactly.
Are you popular? Yes. Are you a hot commodity? Yes. But you're still not bigger than the business. There are still guys that will always be a bigger star than you.
Well,
And I think that's what hurts his ego, is that in his head, he is the absolute biggest star in wrestling, when in reality, he's just a cog in the wheel.
well, and that's the kind of same thing I look at Bret Hart now. I love Bret. Bret put on some classic. There's no, you can argue all you want. Bret was great.
Oh,
But
yeah.
Bret biggest thing is he thinks everything had to run his way in the business.
Yes.
There
Bret
are
was, yeah.
there's so many different highways, byways, you can go different ways. And just because you don't see it the way I see it doesn't mean you're wrong, doesn't mean I'm right, doesn't mean I'm wrong and you're right. It just means we see things differently. With Bret and CM Punk for me, but CM Punk is on this kick where these young guys won't listen. But you did the same thing when you were a
CM
young
Punk
guy.
never listened.
Yeah,
Here's the thing is, he's not listening now, and he's in his mid 40s.
exactly. You
So
want to
you
tell
can't.
you want to tell people how they got to do things. I'm giving you advice. Well, no offense, but I didn't ask you for advice. If I don't
Exactly.
ask you, then why are you getting mad because I won't take it?
Yeah, and a lot of older wrestlers have gotten bad about that. They're like,
Oh,
well, these young guys are not asking for advice from us who have been through this and all that. And it's like, okay, some of them do ask for advice. But like you said, the ones that don't, if they don't ask, then leave them be and let them learn.
I
Everybody
mean,
learns a different way. Some people want to
exactly.
take the advice of a veteran. Some people want to learn. Well, some people want on the job training. They just
And
want to learn as they
and
go.
there's a tactful way you can actually offer advice to somebody without
Hmm.
being condescending to them.
Yes.
You
And that's a
know,
lot of the thing. These veterans are condescending to these younger guys because they don't like the style of wrestling that the younger guys do. And it's like, is it that, or is it because they're better athletes than you are? You don't like the fact that the business is moving away from
What it
what you
used to
think
be.
is the tried and true method of wrestling. Like Bret, like you said, Bret Hart is an amazing technical wrestler. He was fantastic. He was also very lucky he was that good because he had the personality of a footstool. He did his he had Bret didn't have that presence. Bret did not have mic skills. Bret looked like he was bored every time a microphone was in his face. But Bret could go out there and not only have an excellent match, carry people to an excellent match. Like he carried the Bulldog, who was cracked out of his mind at SummerSlam.
Where's the
Could
bulldog?
not,
He's
yeah,
out smoking crack.
yeah. The Bulldog literally said he forgot every single thing they went over as soon as the bell rang. Nobody ever knew because Bret walked him through that match.
And it's
Exactly.
still called the greatest SummerSlam match of all time.
Exactly how and they main evented for the Intercontinental title. How many times is the Intercontinental title main event any pay-per-view, much less one of the big four?
Exactly.
And in a stadium, in Wembley Stadium,
Yeah.
which that stadium is huge. I've been to it. I watched a football game there, but
Was it hold like 80, 90,000 people?
and especially when you throw the wrestling ring in the center where you can put even more fans. So yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and that stadium in London is absolutely just ginormous. And like
Yeah.
you're saying about Brett, when he turned whiny heel, I did like his promos then because then he had attitude with it, but it
Yeah,
was
he had
also
added.
very real.
Yeah, it was very real because that was the best thing about it is because that's how he really felt. So he was able to be himself. He didn't have to be the white meat babyface. He got to be the bitter veteran that didn't like the direction the business was going.
Right. Well,
But
and
Brett still doesn't want to get out of the way, though, is the problem. Because I see it on Twitter all the time. He's always complaining about, there's too many flips and too much of this and not enough psychology. And it's like, have you actually watched the matches? Because the work that these men and women do with the so-called flippy stuff, there's so much psychology in those moves. If you take the time to sit down and watch and not just criticize because they can do something you can't do or were
well,
never able to do.
and that's the kind of same way. Like I'm a big Jim Cornette fan. I've been blessed to talk to him to the just personally couple of different times. Love Jim. His attitude on the wrestling now is just bitter. But even with that being said, he has some valid points. But when you come off bitter, nobody's
Mm-hmm.
going to listen.
Yeah,
Nobody's
and
going to
he's
take it serious.
exactly. And Jim Cornette has one of the most brilliant wrestling minds that there's ever been. But like you said, he comes off as a bitter old man, and people just tune that out. They're
Well,
like,
ironically enough, he talks about how kayfabe is dead. It just killed wrestlers. Like if kayfabe hadn't have died, you wouldn't be as popular as what you are now.
exactly, because you wouldn't be able to talk about how the business actually goes behind the scenes because you wouldn't be able to break kayfabe.
Exactly. And even with that, I like I said, I agree with certain points, but I'm also in the mindset if you don't grow, you're going to stay in the same spot.
Mm-hmm.
Wrestling has to grow. Everything has to grow. Nothing is going to stay the same. So why not try to learn? And I like I said, y'all can't see, but I got DVDs over here. I got VCR tapes of wrestling. That's
Yeah,
how far. That's how
I've
far
got
back
tons
I
of
go.
matches. Yeah, I've got tons of matches on my computer. Older stuff,
Yeah,
independent stuff, just whatever I can find. Um,
exactly. And
and
I'm so dedicated to wrestling. But again, just because I don't necessarily get or even like your style, I will look at it and try to pull positives out of it and
yeah,
understand, well, the kids don't get this because they're in a different state. They don't have to do it like this, but they're doing this. Okay, I can see it. Okay, not my favorite, but okay, I can see where they were going with it.
well, like you were saying about if the business doesn't grow, it's just going to get stale. Look what happened. Steve and I've talked about this on
Mm-hmm.
prior episodes. Look what happened to the AWA. Vern Gagne would not change with the times because he thought his way was best, even though he was getting passed by, and his company ended up going under because they couldn't compete because
Yep.
they were stale. They were old news. Everybody had left and gone to greener pastures,
And the sad thing
and
about it, well, I remember
he
the
was
sad thing
left with
about that
Larry
was, I mean,
Zabisco. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, we actually did an entire episode based on Vern Gagne. In
Yep.
some ways, he was ahead of his times, but in other ways, he was way behind the times because he was
And
the
it's
first one to sell like action figures and things like that.
funny.
Yeah.
But then he had Nick Bockwinkel as his champion again and again and again and again.
And
It's like,
again
dude,
and again.
I like Bockwinkel too, but no, put the belt on somebody else.
Yeah, but
Well,
here's the thing. He had to put the belt on Bockwinkel, and Bockwinkel was 50 years old when he put the last time he put the belt on him. And it's like, come on. But the thing is, Bockwinkel was one of the few people that he trusted because
Everybody
You
else
know,
was leaving for WWF.
everybody was leaving for WWF, or you had Stan Hansen that left for Japan and then ran over the belt and
Which,
stuff like that. Which did Stan take it far? Yeah. But Vern was also trying to reach in Stan's pocket and get some of the money from his Japanese bookings, which Stan was like, absolutely not. And I don't blame him. It's like, you didn't negotiate any of that, so you don't deserve a cut of that.
Did Vern forget to Stan legitimately broke Bruno's neck? And don't get me wrong, Vern Gagne was tough. He was legitimately tough, but
not at that time.
No, not that time. I mean,
not at that time.
Nursing home, he did accidentally kill a guy, but he had dementia. So
yeah.
Anyway,
well, and that's the thing too. And it's funny that we're even talking about this because over on the Wrestling Society podcast, I have a Professor Burr's wrestling class, and I talk about the AWA, and I talked about all of this of how it got passed by and how Vince McMahon screwed them over, and it's just amazing. If you go and look at history and do your research, as much as everybody gives credit, and rightly so, wrestling wouldn't be where it is without Vince McMahon. But without Vince McMahon, some of your favorite stars would have never been left where they were at. Vince went and just took over. He was ruthless. That ruthless aggression was him in the 80s before it was cool to be that.
Oh yeah, he
trying to put everybody out of business.
Yeah. He didn't want the territory system. He just wanted his system.
Hey Bear, since you run basically a class, Professor Bear's Wrestling History. A question though we ask everybody who's been a guest on our show for the series: do you still catch grief from non-wrestling fans?
Oh yeah, I do. And what I tell them is, do it look like I care?
Exactly. Yep, that's how we are. And I will say here lately, I have been like, I have several wrestling shirts and I'll wear them out, and people are like, "Oh, I like the shirt," and especially the Roman Reigns shirts. I have two of them, and people are both like, "I really like your shirt." So you've got people out there that respect pro wrestling. There's some snarky people out there that are just like, pro wrestling's stupid. My wife has said it best. Professional wrestlers are the best one-take actors in the world because they don't get to, redo it. They are live and they've got to do it that first time and get it right. And they do it better than anybody else in any other form of entertainment. And they do not get the credit they deserve for that.
It's very true. I have to agree with you. Agree with your wife wholeheartedly.
Now, and on other subjects, as we discussed this, we were going to talk about this, a combination show of why we are fans and holy crap, like I said, Waylon Bear, he's one of us. I mean, we're all I mean, so many things in common. But what are your thoughts on how the draft went? And I'm actually going to quote a friend of ours, Kyle, actually former co-host Kyle. He said, "Can you name 5 WWE storylines that have been more poorly booked and less thought out than the WWE Draft?" And I was like, and he named a couple. He's like, okay, Katie Vick, Vince McMahon versus God, Beaver Cleavage, and he said Kerwin White. He's like, there's 4, but I mean, he's like, yeah, this was horrible. I mean, he has a point.
I got the 5th one. Shawn Michaels being broke and having to work for JBL. that was a legit storyline. I forget the year, but yeah, Shawn lost a quote unquote. Shawn lost a bunch of money in the stock market, was broke, had to work for JBL. JBL's trying to get him to do a bunch of heel stuff, and then end of the day, Shawn beats him, gets out of his contract, and all this, and it's like terrible, just god awful.
Oh,
we barely squeaked by, but we did get 5.
Yeah.
But barely. I mean, because the draft, and I only caught part of it when it was live, and part of that's
I just kept up with it on Twitter. Yeah. It kept getting notifications on.
I've looked at the list. And I've actually pulled it up on Wikipedia on my phone, and I'm looking at some of these, and I don't understand, why they did some of the moves. I mean, some of them, I guess,
Yeah,
they're still, they're trying to balance out. They want both Raw and SmackDown to get good ratings, and
hmm
sometimes the balance it'll tilt in favor of one or the other. So I get that. Putting Bianca on SmackDown, it probably will help SmackDown. Um,
Well, it'll
even
help
though,
her. Her husband. It'll help her. Her husband's there because Street
yes,
Profits got drafted.
yep, I'm glad they did that because WWE, they've been notorious about, oh, you're a couple,
Splitting.
oh, and you're married, oh, we're going to split you up.
Oh, yeah,
Well,
two different brands. You're never going to see each other.
well, I will do. I hate to do this, but in the defense of WWE, they've did a lot better, but trying to keep couples together.
Now,
Yeah, here in the
yeah, they
last
didn't.
few years they have,
Yes,
but like
yes,
prior to that, it's like you would have couples,
Who was
especially
it?
when they would have the brand specific pay per views.
right.
You would have a married couple over here and here, like Billy Kidman and Tori Wilson. They were on two separate brands, and they had said in interviews that they saw each other maybe 10, 15 days out of the year
Well, and
because of the travel schedule and them being on different brands.
but and again, I hate to be that guy, but this is a business. And how many couples do you know, just regular couples who can work at the same job and can actually have the same schedule where they can see each other? That's frowned upon on most businesses.
Most of them, yeah.
Yeah.
So I get that. And, yeah, okay, let's keep this. But let's be real. Why in the world would you need the Street Profits and Bianca together?
Unless you're going to put them together as a
I say
group.
put them together. I've been saying that
And
for a while. Put them
yeah,
together.
and I don't know why they haven't pulled the trigger on that yet. It's
Well,
like you put the
they
tag
brought
titles on the Street Profits and you put the world title on Bianca, and there's your group.
well,
And
they're
once
about to
again,
split them, so that's why.
maybe. I
Oh,
mean,
the Street Profits. Yeah, it's coming.
we
Yeah,
thought it
Which
was going to
doesn't make
happen.
sense.
Was it a Mania? We thought it was going to happen. One of
Right.
them.
yeah. I thought they were going to pull the trigger on that at Mania, but here's what's probably going to happen. They're going to turn Dawkins heel, is what they'll do, because Montez is so over.
Mm-hmm.
They'll be afraid that they'll kill that momentum if they turn him heel because the crowd just loves Montez, rightfully so. He's fantastic. So I can see them turning Dawkins heel. And I hate to use the Shawn Michaels Marty Jannetty thing, but that's how it is in tag teams most of the time. And in this tag team, you just go, if you look at just star power, Dawkins is the Marty Jannetty. Even though he's a good wrestler, if you go by star power and who can be pushed to the moon and be like one of the faces of the company, it's Montez every time.
But that's the thing. With the Marty Jannetty, Shawn Michaels reference, they just happen to catch lightning in the bottle. Not every tag team can be broken up and come single stars. And sometimes your biggest person you think is going to be the single star is the worst one of the group.
That is true. That's very true. Yeah,
And
Shawn was definitely one of a kind. You know,
right. And Marty was in a bad place that he just
hmm
never came out of. I
yeah,
mean, I remember when they were the Midnight Rockers in AWA.
yep,
Yes.
So
yes.
and honestly, I was more of a Jannetty fan than Sean. and I'm not ashamed to admit it. It's a funny thing to me how the booking and how people look at things. We have a tendency to always want to be able to pick it out. We know what's coming. We know what's coming. They're going to do this. They're going to do this. I'm tired of knowing. I want to be fooled.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
want to be
yeah.
and intelligently fooled. Just don't do something just to say I was wrong. Make it make sense.
Yeah.
And like going back to the Street Profits and Bianca, my point to that is you can split them up. Bianca is so super over. They didn't need to have to move her to SmackDown. They could have left her on Raw. She's been dominant. Then you could have moved Becky, but they didn't want to move Becky because they didn't want to move Seth.
Yep.
That's the problem with this draft. It's the couples thing they're so big into now. The sensibility, like Cody. The reason why they didn't want Cody on the same show as Roman, because they want to separate them until WrestleMania and see if they can get that lightning in a bottle again to let Cody finish the story.
But they can't. They messed it up.
They can't. Well, I mean,
they're wasting Cody with Brock.
No,
yeah, they're wasting Cody with Brock.
Well, no, I don't think so. And I'm gonna tell you the reason why. I understand where they was going with. I understand where they're going with it. So, okay, you want to keep it separated because everybody thinks Cody got to go through these hard times, baby. Everybody think he got to do that. He got to go through the hard times so he can build his way up. So when he beats Roman, it's that much more special. But here's the kicker. With that mindset, you're gonna go ahead and break the rules of what? Of going through different brands. So you can either Cody can win the Royal Rumble again. He can win Money in the Bank, or come up in midstream. Hey, we traded Cody for these 8 wrestlers.
Yeah, just to get him near Roman. Yeah,
exactly.
But here's what I think they messed up on. I see your point and I agree with you, but the story was there already. Cody was stuck as Stardust. He wanted out. He left. He went around the world. I don't either. Went around the world and built himself into a brand, a marketable name. Helped create AEW. Then comes back to the company, tears the pectoral muscle completely off the bone, wrestles a 40-minute Hell in a Cell match, has surgery, goes through rehab, wins the Rumble, gets to Roman, and instead of them doing it right then while they had that lightning in a bottle, to have him win the title and finish the story and be the first Rhodes to win a world title in WWE, they're like, nope, because we need Roman to get to 1,000 days.
Exactly. And here's another reason too. Why in the world would you let a wrestler go build his name, come back and dominate your champion? What does that make your champion look?
I mean, that's true, but they did it with Drew McIntyre.
Yeah, but look how long it took for him. How many?
That is true.
Again,
that is true. Yeah.
He. Oh God, how many? He was the Shield's. He got beat down by the Shield. He got beat down by Dolph. It wasn't like overnight. So anything that Vince doesn't create, he's
not going to push. Yeah, but that was evident from WCW guys that came over. Scott Steiner, Booker T, guys like that. Anything, and Ric Flair has even said that anything that Vince did not create, he is not going to push to its potential
because it's his world. He runs the world. If he didn't make it, it's no good.
What do you think about them moving both women's champions in the draft?
Again.
I knew it was going to happen.
Me too.
Let me rephrase. The women's surprised me. I knew they were going to move the mid-card titles. I knew that. The women surprised me, but like I've seen and heard so many times, and even a child could figure this part out. Instead of labeling your women's champion the Raw Women's Champion or the SmackDown Women's Champion. Name it the World Heavyweight Champion and the WWE Champion. That's what you did with the men's.
Exactly.
So if they go to different brands, it don't matter.
And see, the thing is, it was an easy fix. Rhea Ripley is the SmackDown Women's Champion. Leave her on SmackDown. Draft the Judgment Day to SmackDown. That way, you don't have to move Bianca. And if you want her and Montez to be on the same brand, then just don't draft the Street Profits. That was the simple fix. But instead, Raw drafts the Judgment Day. SmackDown drafts Bianca. Raw drafts Rhea to keep her with the Judgment Day. But now you got the opposite brands champions on there. So what they're going to do is do that stupid belt swap thing that they've done with the tag titles and with the women's title before. And it's just lazy booking. Just like with Imperium. They drafted Imperium as a whole to Raw. Gunther's the Intercontinental Champion. And the story that they're just leaving by the wayside now is that's the only title that Sheamus has never won, and Sheamus has been chasing Gunther for that title. Now he's not going to get that shot because the Intercontinental title.
SmackDown, didn't they?
Well,
yeah, the Brawling Brutes as a whole got drafted to SmackDown. Imperium as a whole got drafted to Raw.
Well, that's the thing, but see, that's the thing Triple H tried to tell people before all this happened. Stories never end.
Yeah, but the problem is WWE fans like us, we have that attention span and that thirst for seeing this story go through.
And that's our problem.
Yeah.
If we look at WWE like we look at AEW. They're totally different. Their mentality is different. The way they set things up is different. So you can't keep, and I'm bad with it too, that I always compare their storylines to theirs. And it's like, WWE ain't never made sense. So why am I keep trying to make sense out of it when it hadn't? I have to stop being dumb and just either go with it and enjoy it or don't watch it. And that's a lot of, we as wrestling fans, we think we can fix every problem. We know everything we should do. And it's funny.
Well, between the three of us, we've watched and we've grown up watching this, and we've watched enough wrestling to know how things are going to go and how, I mean, I hate to sound like this, but how things should go, what makes sense.
Right.
But of course, we don't run these million and billion dollar companies. So
it's a perfect segue. That's the reason why us at Wrestling Society Network have a 2K series to show you how wrestling is supposed to be, how to go. And speaking of which, May 27th is our draft. We are splitting, and we're going to show you how a split should go, how to have sense. So if you're into wanting wrestling to make sense, please check us out.
I'm going to check that out. Yeah.
And everybody wants to be a promoter. I remember as a kid, still to this day, I have the notes of making wrestling. I had my action figures, had Superman, Batman, Green Lantern, all those. And I made a wrestling league, and I made it make sense to me. I'm a Southern kid, so the NWA was the world to me.
Yes.
Me too. That's what I grew up on.
Mid-Atlantic.
Yes. So that's how I booked my shows. That's how I formatted them. I mean, my favorite title is the U.S. Championship of the NWA. I love it. I have it on, matter of fact, I have it on my wall.
Okay.
Oh, there it is. Yep. All right.
So
the one I call Luger's Championship.
Exactly.
He's the one that held it the longer.
Exactly. So I have a lot of different things. So my
is that the world television? Sorry,
that's the TV title, isn't it?
Is that the world television title?
That's the world television. That's the world tag team. That's Flair's title in the WWE.
Oh, see, he's got Arn and Tully's belt,
Mhm.
and then
A
he's got
horseman,
Arn's
baby.
and then Arn's TV. Oh, see.
I'm a horseman. I'm a
Yeah,
horseman through and through.
But how about that one?
Yeah.
Bill?
You know, the funny thing, I am getting that one.
And I've got this one.
and the funny thing, I met Tyrus. Me and Tyrus were talking. And he's like, "Oh, you call yourself an NWA fan and you don't have the 10 pounds of gold?" I said, "Because I'm 10 pounds of broke. I can't afford every title." So
but it doesn't beat Thor's hammer, which Dwaylen just has. So
yes.
Apparently Dwalen's Thor. Because only Thor can actually hold the hammer.
Exactly.
My two prized possessions, my wife bought both. She bought me Thor's hammer for Christmas last year and the WWE title for our first anniversary.
Yeah, I promised my fiance we're getting married in 2 weeks. I promised her that I'm gonna do my best not to buy any more titles because I don't have any space in my little bird cave to put anything.
See, and I'm just looking around the cave here, and I'm seeing the other NWA.
Yes.
Yep.
That would have to be. Looks like after Cube left.
No, actually, no. This is actually you just can't see him. He's on there.
Is he on there in the end?
Oh, there he
is. Okay.
There he is. Okay.
Oh, show you something. One of my prized possessions.
Okay.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And I always, no matter where I go, I always say this because I'm proud of it. I love Bianca. I know her family. I know her father and mother. And we went to the same high school. So I'm very proud of that. And I love Bianca, but every pay-per-view I always predict she's going to lose and she makes her ass out.
For those who are audio only, Barry just showed us an autographed picture of Bianca Belair, and apparently he's actually friends with her family. So now, according to the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, we're only 2 degrees away from Bianca.
Yeah. So, but going back to the draft, I wasn't excited when I heard about it because I knew give it 6 to 8 months, they're going to do what they usually do.
Oh yeah, they're just going to start letting people show up wherever they want to show up, and it's like, what sense does that make? That why do you have a brand split if people can just roam back and forth?
But
the networks don't get happy about that either.
Yeah.
No, and that's the networks have not been happy for the last year since the titles have been unified. And I had this argument last week when Steve and I talked about the new World Heavyweight title.
Yeah.
Roman's walking around with 2 belts. One of them says World Heavyweight Champion. Just give the WWE title to Raw and keep Roman with the Universal title on SmackDown. It was a simple fix instead of spending the money to create a 3rd world title.
Yeah.
And they had one before. It was a 24/7 belt.
Yeah. R-Truth had it. I mean, just
24/7, 7-Eleven, I-95. Which he's out with the torn pec right now, which I hate that. I love R-Truth.
Oh, man. I saw a meme where somebody did him. He said he's glad to be in the NFL, and they're like, truth. No.
Yeah.
No.
Like, dude, come on. He is gold. He is a national treasure.
And when he goes to the Hall of Fame, they're going to give him the 24/7 belt.
He needs it. And a lot of people don't know. They just think R-Truth is just a comedian. Do not know the simple fact that R-Truth was the first ever Black NWA World Heavyweight Champion.
Yep, right, and he did it twice.
Yep.
And the dude does not age. He looks exactly the same when he won the NWA World title back in 2002.
Yes.
20 years later, he looks exactly the same. The dude don't age.
I
at
mean,
all.
we did talk about that, Dwaylen. It really doesn't crack, does it?
It doesn't crack. It doesn't. It doesn't. We were
Now,
blessed. I don't know what to tell
Jake,
you.
Jake Petway, who we had on there, he did call you out something about that, but
He did, yeah, yeah, he did because we were talking about getting old, and he's like, dude, you don't look anywhere near your age. Stop it. I'm like,
oh,
Well, I'm super happy to show my age because that means I've been living, and I'm okay with that.
yeah, that's me. It's like I joke about being old, but I'm thankful for every day I'm here. So
yes, sir. Yeah, because Dwaylen and I, we discuss our health issues like all the time.
yeah, yeah.
We texting each other, hey man, my blood sugar was really high this morning. And
Which mine's been doing really good the past few days. It was
uh
kind of low yesterday, but it's been in the low hundreds today, so it's been
when
pretty good.
I was in Orlando, that week, my blood sugar when I woke up in the morning, I mean, it was like below 100 every day. Now I'm back here all of a sudden this morning, or actually I forgot to check it this morning, but yesterday morning it was like 149. I was like, whoa, ho, ho, ho.
It's like, wait a minute.
People don't understand that stress will blow your numbers up.
It will.
It sure will.
And I'm guessing like walking around, about 15,000 steps in a day, like what you kind of do at Disney, regardless of what you're doing. That actually brings your sugar down, I'm guessing. But along with the draft, we have a PPV or PLE or show, whatever you want to call it, it's coming Saturday. And down in Puerto Rico, very first time they're actually having a show down in Puerto Rico. That is Backlash, which is the main event. I get it.
Actually, yep, that's what I was going to say, because that was that was the first not elimination chamber. It was the second.
Right.
It was the second elimination.
It was the second
chamber.
one. Yeah,
yeah.
It was
I definitely corrected that.
New Year's Revolution because it was
that's
the
where
world heavyweight title was vacant.
Yep.
Because Triple H was over in Puerto Rico. Like he was the heel walking in, but his music hit and that crowd lost their mind. That's where they started the Batista turn to face when Triple H was started to screw over Batista, because Triple H could have helped Batista not get eliminated by Randy Orton, but he didn't. He just sat back in the corner and watched Randy Orton beat him. Then he turns around and beats Orton. But
and matter of fact, that's where Edge cashed in the Money in the Bank on Cena.
Yep. Yep.
What year was that?
Oh God.
2006, I think.
2006. The beginning of the year I was in Korea.
Yeah, I think it was 2006.
Okay. Then I came back to the States for about 5 months, and then we went to England. So I was all over the place. I was really not able to keep track of hardly anything. But there's only 7 matches listed, and I get why the main events, Bad Bunny and Damian Priest. I mean, both
Puerto Rico.
From Puerto Rico. So yeah, that absolutely makes sense. One of the things I think will happen, they will introduce, of course, some of the most famous Puerto Rican wrestlers. Carlos Colon, he's going to be out there.
He's got to be.
I'm wondering about the Gonzaleses, the Invaders.
Yeah, because I don't know.
That's a touchy subject, and like certain people.
Oh man,
yeah.
Woo.
Let's see. But the very first match they have listed: Matt Riddle, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn versus the Bloodline, which is the three
Fatu the Uso brothers, basically.
Yeah.
Funny story about that. My brother had met Roman and the Usos when they were kids. He was telling me they were living in Atlanta at the time because they were working for WCW, his father, and he went to hang out with him. And my brother told me, he said, "Man, they got these little 2 bad kids and their little mean cousin. They like these twins, they terrible." He's like, "Man, they just kept." And turns out it was Roman and the Usos.
I wonder if that's how Roman, or Joe Anoa'i, how he ended up going to Georgia Tech.
Georgia Tech, yeah.
Yep.
Could be.
But I think the Twins, they went to like South Alabama, something like that. I think it was a Division II school.
Yeah.
But it's still, they're still playing collegiate football, which means they're a lot better at than what I am. So I don't get why they just had Zane and Owens win the tag titles and they're immediately not defending them.
Because Vince doesn't care about tag team wrestling.
Oh, he hates it, but he'll put them in a six-man match. Welcome back, Matt Riddle. Glad to see Matt Riddle's back.
Bro.
But it's a pointless, at this point, it's a pointless feud. I mean, the story was told at WrestleMania when Owens and Zayn won the tag titles. So there's no need to keep going with this. Because they're obviously not going to put the tag titles back on the Usos just yet. So let everybody move on to something else.
Well, and this is what it is, a blow off. Because everything ended Saturday, everything starts a new Monday. So
yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, because then come Monday they'll have to build towards Night of Champions.
Right, which
only 3 weeks after the fact.
Which
3 weeks out.
They're in the same month. They're in the same calendar month.
Yeah, and 3 weeks to build a tournament to determine who your first, and that's what they're going to say, the first WWE World Heavyweight Champion.
Exactly. And well, Owens and Sammy wasn't going anyway, so
yeah.
Oh, next match listed: Cody and Brock. Pointless match. My personal take.
If Vince is in charge of booking this match, Brock's winning in probably about 3 minutes.
And then he's getting on his plane. And he's leaving.
And then he's going to get on his plane, go back to Saskatchewan, to his giant secluded ranch.
I think I'm calling for Cody to win this. I think it's going to be surprising. Plus, because it will help enhance what Cody can do. Plus, once he wins, Brock is going to destroy him and give him a chance to wrestle somebody else. That's my take.
I hope Cody wins. But like I said, if Vince is booking, he'll book Brock to win because he always does.
Oh, next one. This is actually kind of an interesting one. Rhea Ripley defending her whichever title she has. They may switch it before then. I don't know. Against Zelina Vega, because Zelina Vega, she's also I think she was born in America, but she's Puerto Rican by heritage.
Oh yeah. They've been lapping that up, but it's no interest in that. There's no way in the world. I got a better chance of going down there and beating.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Here's the thing. Rhea Ripley is the hottest thing they have in the women's division, and they would be stupid to burn that right now. I mean, she is 26 years old, has everything you could want in a professional wrestler. Build your division around her and keep making money.
And especially for a throwaway pay-per-view, too.
Exactly. Yeah. Do not have her dropping the title at Backlash.
Well, I think Zelina Vega, this will get like the big crowd pop.
Oh, yeah.
She'll be the underdog. And
yeah, she'll be the underdog. She'll be the hometown favorite, but she's
taking
a rip.
wrestler.
She just doesn't get enough chance to show it. That she's a good wrestler. But she's taking a riptide. That's just how it's going to go.
Yeah.
Well, her and some members of the NWO, the LWO, they're taking it too.
I love that when they brought that back. I was kind of popping pretty hard when I saw they brought the LWO shirts.
I laughed about that because everybody's like, man, they ain't won a match since they got back together. I was like, they're not supposed to. And I said, I said, okay, name me one time that the LWO won in WCW. I'll wait.
Exactly. It was because Eddie Guerrero was the only one that ever won a match. The rest of the group never won anything.
Exactly.
That was kind of the point of that was the point they were trying to make. is how the Hispanic wrestlers were booked.
Actually, I say bring back Conan, put him in an LWO shirt. I'd love to see that. But I know he'd never go to WWE though. So
No.
Seth, some kind of nickname Rollins, and Omos, the big dude.
This is another throwaway match. It's just there was no build. It made no sense. They just threw it out there just to get them on the card. I guess just to fill out the card.
Yeah, but what almost needs this win.
Yes,
he needs this win. A loss doesn't do Seth any harm.
It doesn't hurt him at all. Because, like you said, Monday's going to be when the work
exactly, and you can't keep having your big man squash all these jobbers, and he loses every pay-per-view against any serious competition.
Yeah, they're turning him into the Big Show.
Yep.
Without the heel face turn, they're just you have this giant and you're burying him when he comes to wrestle established stars, like Bear said. It's like, at what point do people stop caring that he's a giant? It's like he's going to lose anyway, so why am I supposed to care?
You had this big giant who used to play college basketball, just like the Big Show.
Yep.
So Big Show played at Wichita State and somewhere else, but almost he played at South Florida. And of course, you got to think somebody that tall. Your only gameplay is go stand in the basket. Make sure you don't stand in the lane. We'll throw you the ball, reach over, and dunk it. Okay.
Yeah, stand like this, and we'll throw it to you. Dump it in.
Yeah, just make sure you don't stay in the lane for more than 3 seconds. They might call that, unless you're in the NBA, where you probably stand there for like 8 seconds. You can walk like 8 steps.
I mean, you could stand there for 2 minutes. They don't
care. But anyway, yeah. By the way, we're talking about college basketball earlier. It's like, yeah. Then to get to the NBA, they don't care anymore, and that's why the All-Star games just suck now.
Exactly. Yep.
Seth Rollins almost. I'm like, yeah, I don't care.
Yeah, I don't care.
Yeah, basically.
That's my prediction. Is I'm not going to care. And
is it really a prediction or is it a spoiler?
That I won't care?
It's a spoiler that I don't care.
I mean, yeah.
I hate to spoil it for all of our listeners and YouTube viewers, but none of us care about this match.
No.
They don't even care about this match.
I know.
Exactly.
Bathroom break.
MVP is going to be on his phone like playing solitaire or something.
Yeah, and everybody in Gorilla is going to be like, all right, come on, wrap it up.
Well, he's still going to be trying to get the Hurt business back together. He's still trying to figure a way to get them back together.
Which they should get them back together.
That was the stupidest thing to break them up. That was the dumbest thing.
Vince McMahon.
Yep. Because they got over without him having anything to do with it. And he's like, no, I can't have that.
Next match, and Dwaylen, you know how I feel about triple threat matches if they're not elimination. But this one, Theory, Austin Theory. I got to make sure I always say his first name because Austin Theory, Bobby Lashley, Bronson Reed for the U.S. title. Austin Theory is the champion.
Match of the night. That's going to be match of the night.
Yeah, I can see that
because I'm liking this Austin Theory. I'm liking once he got rid of the stupid selfie thing and all that.
Yes.
He's just out there with a chip on his shoulder with something to prove. Bobby Lashley's Bobby Lashley. He's just amazing. Bronson Reed is awesome. I've watched him since NXT, and then when he got let go, I watched him in New Japan. I watched him in Impact. He's a freak of nature too. A dude that size. The dude is built like a bowling ball and moves like Rey Mysterio.
Yes, he does.
And that's going to be match of the night. But Theory needs to retain. It's not going to hurt Bobby Lashley to lose. Bronson Reed is too new to Raw for it to really hurt him. But Austin Theory needs to retain.
Who does he pin or submit though? He's not going to submit Bobby Lashley.
He somehow pins Bronson Reed. He's not pinning or submitting Bobby Lashley.
Not a second time.
No, it's going to be, and it's probably going to be an opportunistic thing. Bronson Reed's probably Bobby Lashley's probably going to spear Bronson Reed.
But fall out of the ring.
Yeah.
Fall out of the ring, or Theory throws him out and pins him, possibly with his feet on the ropes because Bronson's a big dude. But he's going to do what a heel is supposed to do. He's going to cheat and find a way to win.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you're right. You're right. I mean, like you said, he's supposed to do that.
Yeah. It makes sense when a heel cheats. It never makes sense when a babyface cheats because it's like I'm supposed to hate this person because they cheat, but then I'm supposed to root for the babyface and they're cheating.
That's why
Well,
everybody started hating Hogan.
my thing was I don't mind when a babyface cheats because it's like I'm showing you I'm not stupid. Because I'm a babyface doesn't mean I have to be stupid. If
Yeah.
he cheats, let me give him his medicine.
Now, I always liked when Eddie Guerrero did it. It was like, especially if he was in there with somebody and they tried to cheat, and he would always make it backfire on them. But like when you had John Cena as the white meat babyface and the savior of the company and all this, and he's stooping to the bad guys level in order to win a match, it's like you're supposed to be big Super Cena. You're supposed to be able to win these with no problem without having to cheat. So why are you stooping to their level?
Right.
So next one, the Bianca's championship, whichever one she has, against Io Sky. Of course, Io Sky, she has Bailey and Dakota Kai outside, but it's for Bianca's title.
Bianca's. Go ahead, Bear. Sorry.
No, I was gonna say, I think this is gonna show another crack in damage control. I think I can see EO telling them to stay in the back. She has something to prove. She's gonna lose, but I think she's gonna. I think they're gonna have the match of the night. Honestly,
you think so?
I think they're gonna give her a chance to shine that she hadn't been able to do since she got brought up to the main roster.
The match that they need to have with EO though, since they're both on the same brand, if somebody does not book EO Sky versus Asuka, I'm going to be quite upset because I have seen them wrestle in Japan, and Lord, that was some of the most hard hitting wrestling you will ever see.
All right. Well, and
just about that.
I always think about sensical things we were talking about. Like there was no reason why Bianca beat Asuka at WrestleMania.
Nope, not a bit. Asuka needed that win and deserved that win.
And now,
especially after had her loser streak to Charlotte Flair.
And now she hadn't won a match at WrestleMania. Now you have burnt her again.
Mm-hmm.
Who's gonna care?
Yeah. That's the thing. They took this woman who built this mystique. I mean, she built a Goldberg level mystique around her when she had her streak going, but better because she could actually wrestle. But, she was a killer. Everybody was afraid of Asuka. People were lining up to watch her matches. As soon as she was announced on a card, people were buying tickets because they knew they were in for a show. And you take all of that and you burn it to give the title and the streak ending thing to Charlotte, who didn't need it at all. Makes no sense. And then they haven't done right by Asuka since.
Nope.
Well, the last match is the main event. Like we said, I mean, I get it. Puerto Rico. A San Juan street fight. Bad Bunny, Damian Priest.
Bad Bunny wins. If not, that entire stadium's going to riot.
Really?
Oh yeah. Bad Bunny's winning. I mean, he's the celebrity.
Person. Yeah,
he's a celebrity. He's in his home country. He also is actually pretty decent at wrestling for the limited amount of time that he's done it. Damian Priest is an excellent wrestler who's going to do his best to put him over.
Yep.
And make him look like a $1 million. He's going to be in front of a home crowd, the big time celebrity and a true wrestling fan and student of the game who puts in the work.
Respects it.
Yeah. and respects it. So Bad Bunny's winning that one. There's no reason for Damian Priest to win this because this doesn't hurt Damian Priest by losing to Bad Bunny.
And
this is not him in a world title match or a mid card title match or something. This is a grudge match with a celebrity. It's not going to hurt him to lose it.
Well, and the main thing, Judgment Day doesn't win anything important unless it's real.
Exactly.
They kill them every time.
And this isn't like Bam Bam and LT at WrestleMania. That hurt Bam Bam because LT was a football player. He wasn't any good at wrestling. He never wrestled. He didn't train to wrestle. He just trained to not get blown up in the ring.
And he still got blown up.
And he still got blown up, but he beat him in the main event. And Bam Bam was never the same in WWE after that. I don't think this will be the same situation with Priest and Bunny because Bunny's going to put in the work and make a credible match and give Damian Priest a credible match. So I think Bad Bunny wins, but it doesn't, like Bear said, Judgment Day always lose anyway, unless it's Rhea Ripley. So it's just par for the course.
And Bam Bam was paid like $250,000 just for that one match. So
yeah, but Bam Bam didn't get successful really in wrestling until he left and went to ECW.
Yeah, the resurgence that was his resurgence.
Yep, because he joined the Triple Threat, won the TV title, won the world title. So
yeah, that's the main event. And every time I see San Juan, I'm thinking about Welcome Back, Carter. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. I'm Epstein from San Juan. So, but anyway, Bear, thank you so much for coming on. It has been an absolute
thank you very
pleasure.
much.
Man, I appreciate y'all having me, and well, we definitely got to do it again. I just enjoyed myself.
Oh yeah, and I'm just glad we were finally able. Because I told Joel, I said once we were able to stabilize our schedules, you know, between a lot of like actual legitimate family emergencies, and then, oh God, Joel, what else we have coming on? We both had family emergencies, you know,
health stuff and
work stuff, which here in 2 days I'm not going to have that any longer. That I found out today the thing I had lined up all of a sudden fell through. You know, but you know what? I'll work it out.
Yeah,
everything will work out the way it's supposed to.
If nothing else, maybe we can record some during the day.
We might. Like, what are you doing today? We record a podcast. Ain't doing anything else. We might as well.
Yeah.
You know, so but absolutely, Barry, it has been a pleasure. We got to have you back on. And we promise it won't be I don't want to say I promise because as soon as I do that, something else will happen. But that's happened to us before. We say, "Oh, we're probably no." Then
I definitely understand that. Hopefully, y'all can come on to our podcast and have fun with us. Because, like I said, for us, it's just having fun and giving knowledge. That's for me is the top thing.
Yep.
I love to let people know things, and sometimes I feel like I'll be like, I shouldn't say anything because I seem like a know-it-all, but I kind of do.
That's how it's like. But is it being a know-it-all when you're just giving facts? I mean,
right.
And once again, give everybody the details of your podcast about the Wrestling Society podcast, Wrestling Society Network, all that good stuff.
All right. You can find me on the Wrestling Society Network. We have a YouTube page. We have every Sunday we do a podcast. We have different shows. We have the B&B show. We have the Vault. We have Clayton's. Oh God, Clayton, don't hate me because I can't remember. I went blank again. But we have a bunch of different shows. We have our 2K promotions that is starting second season, May 27th. You can we're on all social media, and my personal one is a Bear of a Wrestling Fan on Facebook. So thank you again, everyone, and please just keep supporting wrestling.
Yep.
Oh, absolutely, because that's how Joel and I we were already good friends before we even found out we both liked wrestling.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that just made it even better. So but until we can let you meet again, Bear, my friend, because I know all of us, we all got to go to bed, and we got people who are like, "When were you ever going to finish recording?" Because I'm getting
Right.
impatient. So
Oh yeah, this is
yeah.
my say hi, Savannah. You're on the podcast.
Oh yeah, the chess prodigy.
Yeah, yeah, my chess prodigy. She is fantastic. She is untouchable. I taught her how to play when she was like 8. I beat her twice. She's 14.
Wow.
Yeah,
And my
yeah,
wife's actually in Jamaica right now. That's why she's wanting to,
yeah. She's on the yeah.
yeah, she did a because she has a travel, she's part of a travel agency, and they asked her to go to help these things out in Jamaica, and she's like, "Oh my God, it's so hot." I'm like, "You're in Jamaica, I'm Ohio. Ohio sucks." So,
Yeah.
so, but until we can talk again, my friends, I just gotta say good night and God bless.
Good night. God bless.
God bless.